Okay, well, this meeting, okay, probably won't take very long, I wouldn't think. All right, Mr. Hamlin, let's just, if there is anyone here for the indoor smoking legislation, I don't see anyone who's obviously here for that purpose. It has been removed from today's agenda. We're not taking that up. We are going to take up Bill 3418, Human Rights and Civil Liberties, County Minimum Wage. And Mr. Hamlin, if you could briefly describe to us what this bill accomplishes.
Sure. Bill 3418 is a really straightforward bill. It would modify the definition of employer in the county's minimum wage law so that employers of one or more persons in the county, in addition to the owners, would be required to pay the county minimum wage. Current law requires employers of two or more employees in the county to pay the minimum wage. The bill would, make county minimum wage law consistent definition-wise with the state and federal minimum wage laws, and would align this definition of employer with the same definition in the county's sick and safe leave law. It's largely intended to benefit domestic workers who are the sole employee in a household who, for reasons that were discussed briefly in the packet, were left out of the original definition, but given the exemptions in the county, state, and federal laws, staff doesn't believe that the original motivations for defining it this way were even necessary.
Great. The packet addresses all the questions I had at the public hearing, so I don't really have any other questions about this. I'm happy to support it. Mr. Rice?
Yeah, same thing, and I really just want to say thank you to Mr. Hamlin for meeting with me and answering a lot of the questions that I had that I was concerned about some of the other implications for babysitting and things like that, but I think that he's answered all of my questions, and so I'm very happy with where we are.
Okay, so that's 2-0.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now we have before us a request from the county executive. He's asked us to agree to two CIP amendments, one for $700,000 for Manna Food Center and another, a total of $700,000, $400,000 for Manna Food Center, $300,000 for Sunflower Bakery. Who will describe this to us? Ms. Alawalya, are you going to explain why the county executive wants us to approve these funds?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. Let's take up Manna Food Center, if you would mind first. Manna Food Center had come to us during budget deliberations back in the spring, saying that they had identified a facility in East County and had looked for support at that time to build an East County center for ending hunger. They have a huge capital campaign underway for over $2 million. The sense was that there wasn't bandwidth at that time with the budget hearing, with the budget that had been put together by the county executive.
We just approved the minimum wage bill.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you get questions answered? Or did it all...
It's all the council president's here to speak in favor of the bill that the committee just approved 2-0. Thank you for your leadership, Mr. Reamer, and your very persuasive comments. They're very effective.
It's the best kind of council.
Put it over the fence.
Soaring oratory, amazing.
It's like, it's still ringing. All right. So then there was another, after the budget process was done, Mr. Leggett was stated that he would like to do something in this space because he recognizes the importance of having a facility in East County. What you have before you is a submission for a $400,000 CIP cost sharing submission. And most of it is for construction. And you see in the packet for renovation and equipping of its East County facility for the warehouse renovations, and it will be part of the larger submission. So,
Okay.
Mr.
Mr. Carlo, do you want to tell us all the great things that are going to happen in this building? Do you want to come on up? What will occur at the Manna East County Center?
We'll be able to offer on a daily basis a marketplace featuring healthy foods so that East County residents will have more access to the food that they need to be healthy and able to contribute to being part of the community. We also will have classroom space that we will use for our own nutrition education, but also share with other groups. Like, for instance, in the testimony packet, you had a letter from the Literacy Council and McHale. We're talking to them about using that space for GED classes, ESL classes. And then finally, on the second floor, we will have our own program staff, but are intentionally building out extra, what is called in the lingo, touchdown space. So cubicles, kind of think WeWork, but on a more modest scale, so that we can open our conference rooms, our cubicles, to fellow nonprofits and to HHS staff for case management, coalition building, whatever's necessary in the East County.
Very good. Beyond the $400,000, which I am happy to support, what are your other sources of funding? And what's the total cost of the project?
So this project is in concert with our renovation at the warehouse at 9311 Gaither. And so the whole capital campaign that Director Aluwalia referenced is $2.5 million, and we have raised $800,000 in pledges. So that would.
The remainder of the 2.5 have to be raised before the project can be built?
No.
Right. Okay, any other questions from committee members? Mr. Rice?
Well, it's not even a question. It's actually just a comment, and I think it's incredibly important because I remember, and it wasn't that long ago, that you and I were at downtown Silver Spring, at Silver Spring Civic Building, for the launch of Manny. And a gentleman came up, and he said, you know, you guys are doing it all wrong, and had some criticism for myself, being the council member who was supporting MANA, and for MANA itself, and saying, you guys give us all this stuff and we don't use it all, and it's hard for us to do, but if we had a place where we could go in and get what we needed and take that with us, because a lot of us are homeless and don't have a place to store all of this food and then it goes bad. I just want to say thank you, because you listened and you made it happen in two places. Thriving Germantown Hub, and now in East County, two places that really need it. And at a time, and I just had this conversation this morning, and it's something that, to me, I just feel that needs to continuously be said, and I'm, you know, feeling more and more impassioned about this. So much conversation is about how government's not working, about how folks aren't working for our people, they're not listening. But we are. We're doing it. And from that man and from others who had said, hey, this is something that we need, and for us changing our model and listening to people and bringing those services directly to them and making it easier for them, I just want to say thank you, because that's the reason why your organization is so strong and so great, because you continue to be able to innovate and move in the right direction, listening to your constituency, listening to the folks who are utilizing the services and figuring out how best to continue to serve them. And so I just want to highlight, Montgomery County's doing it, folks. We might not see as much of it at the federal level, but we're seeing it here in Montgomery, and it's examples for things just like this that highlight for me that there's hope for us when it comes to people believing in their government. So thank you for that.
So you're still undecided on the appropriation?
I am.
Mr. Berliner?
I'm good.
Okay, so, so the $400,000 for MANA is approved. Let's discuss Sunflower Bakery. Ms. Raskus, why don't you come up and tell us the great things that are going to happen at your facility?
Before you do that, can I run through
Yes.
the difference in the numbers
Certainly.
between what council staff are proposing and what Ms.
Well, we're going to get to council staff's recommendation in a moment.
Okay.
Let's hear about the project.
Okay.
And then if it's useful, let's have Ms. Raskus describe the project. We'll have Ms. Aluwalia describe the executive's request. We'll ask the staff to explain their recommendation. Okay, in that order. Ms. Raskus.
So we are about to begin on our build-out. We signed our lease 2 weeks ago, and we're ready to go, which means that we would be ready to move in at the end of May. We are very excited. It is a 5,700 square foot space, which is 4.5 times our current very inadequate space. In the new space, what we will have, which we have not had, is a dedicated training kitchen. We will be able to expand our production kitchen. We will have a number of bathrooms, not just one bathroom. We will have classrooms. We will have office space we will be able to provide classes to the community, which is something we've been wanting to do and have not been able to do because of space constraints. Our pastry arts program will expand, likely to 2 different tracks, but for the time being, we anticipate going from 14 to 21 students in that 26-week program. And we will be widely expanding our teen job exposure programs that we are now running year-round. We used to run it just in the summer. What else can I tell you?
Can I ask you, same question I asked Manna, of the, you're asking, the county executive is asking for $300,000 from the county. What is the total budget for your build-out, and what are your other sources of funds?
So our capital campaign is for $1 million. We have raised, as of yesterday, $540,000. And we anticipate, to be honest, we haven't even launched our public campaign. We were waiting to have a signed lease. So we're about to do that and raise the rest of the funds. We did receive $150,000 from the county last year, which we're for this year, but we're very grateful. And we will privately fundraise the rest.
Do you work with groups like Manna when you have surplus baked goods at the end of the day? You donate them all, whatever's left over?
Donate, yeah.
And will this commercial kitchen be available if there's downtime with respect to Sunflower's needs? Will it be available to other community groups, or is it 24/7 Sunflower needs it all?
Not 24/7 yet.
Yeah.
We may get there. We have a little bit of a restriction on our use because we're kosher.
Yes?
So we cannot let just other groups.
You can't cook non-kosher products in the kitchen, sure.
But we do intend to use our premises, for classes and for different kinds of things now that we'll have that kind of space. So
Right.
we expect to be using it full-time.
Okay. Ms. Allawell, do you have anything to add?
So I was actually going to just respond to the council staff's recommendation and that ask that the committee please consider full funding
Right.
and the reasons why. So
I understand. Well, let's go ahead. We will ask staff to explain their point of view.
Yeah, this is on Sunflower Bakery. Yes, the recommendation was for $300,000 for the build out of the kitchen. I looked at the application from the last community grant cycle, and we actually met and did the Q&A interview at the time. The budget at the time was for a $700,000 build out, and in the application it had said that there were $500,000 in pledges. I think there's already, this is an update on many terms. The lease that you included with the application was for a January 1st, 2018 start date for 5 years, so that's probably been updated as well. And then we have your pledges of $500,000. It seems like has been revised to $250,000, and the budget is, I think, what you're saying? Okay, the pledges in the application from last January was for $500,000, but it looks like from your revised budget that it's at $250,000 right now out of the $714,000 revised budget for the full build out.
But she just said that they had more than 500,000.
Right, but that was for, so the $1 million is also a new number in terms of the capital campaign for this production kitchen too. So the revised budget for this. Yeah, no. Right, the revised budget that was submitted for this appropriation from the county executive was for $714,000, right? And so the $150,000 was from the county executive for construction costs, which was approved by the HHS committee, and then the original revised budget that came over was for $188,000 for construction costs too. So that's where the recommendation came from. And actually speaking with Linda Price about capital projects, we added the $6,200 for the voice and data modifications as well, thinking that that amount of money of $450,000 on a $700,000 project was enough to get forward in terms of emergency construction costs for this year. Your email, which I appreciate, outlines a timeline. That timeline was not given, in the application. It was not given in the application. It was in the testimony, and this packet was published before the testimony was over. So we never had a timeline in terms of that. So I guess the question on the recommendation would be on the equipment cost delay. Is that part of the $540,000 that's been raised so far that can cover that equipment cost for the next cycle? Because you are eligible to apply for capital expenses again next year in community grants.
Right. I think our concern is that by the time we would get that money, we would be holding us up from opening.
You want to open in April?
We want to open in April, otherwise we'll have double rent. I mean, we don't really, we'll just be sitting there. And we, frankly, we want to start our programs, our new programs, and bring in more students.
Okay. My guess is that committee members are going to be sympathetic to the full 300. Do committee members want further discussion on this point?
I don't
Yeah.
think we need further, I don't need further discussion.
No, and I would just say, based on some cost overruns we've heard from based on cost overruns that we've heard from some other projects as well, due to tariffs, I'd like to work in a little bit of flexibility anyway.
Move faster.
Yeah.
So I appreciate staff's effort at due diligence. That's always welcome. But my inclination is to go with the whole 300, and it sounds like that's the unanimous recommendation of the committee.
Can I just
And-
add one more thing that
Yeah.
Erica wanted to speak? Erica is representing OMB. You don't want to? Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Okay, great.
yes,
It's just speedy.
yes. Mr. Berliner?
I was 4 minutes late, and I understand it only took 2 minutes for the committee to dispense with the minimum wage bill.
It was very controversial.
I
Heated
understand.
debate.
And it was because
I understand,
Craig almost hit me. It was,
so could I just be shown to be in the affirmative with respect to that matter?
yeah, the sponsor, the council president, showed up too late.
I was like,
And
really?
he had a whole speech. He was all wound up, ready to talk about it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.